Warning, GMOs are detrimental to your health. Shame on farmers for using GMO seeds. They're poisoning everyone. Some of you may have heard of this argument against farmers, and have been wondering what the truth is between GMOs and pesticide control. Some of you may have never even heard of this argument before and are wondering what I'm talking about. Well, today I'm going to inform you on what pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, and GMOs are, and how the farmers use them. So, for years there's been a strong debate against farmers using pesticide control, synthetic fertilizers, and genetically modified organisms, or GMOs as they call it. The common misconception to the public is that GMOs will harm the consumer's health. So as a daughter of a farmer, I have seen the debate firsthand and have grown and labored over fields of crops all my life. I personally have worked with pesticides and have seen the difference between using them and not using them on the crops. There's a big difference. But let's get the facts about what goes into your food. What are you really eating? I'm going to distinguish the truths between using pesticides on crops and planting GMO seeds. Then we'll discuss what the difference is between organic farming and conventional farming. But first, what is a GMO? So, we use the term GMO, but what does it actually mean? Some of the first thoughts people think of when they hear the word GMO is this: injecting fruit and vegetables with a foreign material, pesticides even. GMO, or genetically modified organisms, are not being injected with harmful foreign or fatal organisms. Let me repeat that. They are not being injected with any of that. They are being modified with natural genes to help the plant flourish. So, is genetic engineering the best way to solve a plant's problem? For centuries, traditional plant breeding has been used to fight pests and handle stress, such as drought, and improve taste and nutrition in plants. GMOs are doing the same thing, they are just doing it more quick and precise. Traditional methods take longer, and they aren't as precise to one genetic trait as biotechnology is, or GMO engineering. So researchers first identify the gene that makes the plant resistant to the disease or pest, and then study the genetic makeup of the plant that needs the trait. Researchers know that if the plants contain certain genetic material from the virus within their own DNA, they are protected. If they could take a copy of this gene, and then from the virus itself, and put it into the plant's genetic makeup, the plants would be protected. So, the researchers then copy the trait from the donor organism, or the virus, and implant it into the plant's DNA. They isolate the gene needed and transform the gene using the high-speed technology and put that DNA into the plant. The plant is now resistant to the particular disease or pest, just as the flu shot makes people resistant to the flu. Let me repeat that. Just as a flu shot makes people resistant to the flu is how this works. With the new gene in the DNA of the plant naturally makes proteins that improves the DNA and makes it resistant to the disease or pest. So it just makes it now that it has it implanted. They next plant the new seed and test it. They test many of these seeds to see if it accurately works. Once there is a line of plants that have shown consistent resistance to the disease, they continue to test for years to make sure that this new seed performs well on farms, is safe for people to eat, and is of commercial quality. And that is what a GMO is. So, what is pesticide and herbicide control? Pesticides and herbicides are chemicals farmers put down on their crops to kill bugs or weeds that they don't want growing or infesting. So, just as a landscaper sprays chemical around decorative plants to sterilize and kill weeds that may come up, so do farmers use chemicals to keep weeds and bugs from getting into their crop. For example, when corn is planted and starts to get several inches high, so are the weeds around them. Weeds grow faster and take up the nutrients and root space for the corn to expand and grow, depriving it from the sun, nutrients, and the water. Farmers at this time spray a chemical called Roundup on all of the plants. using big tractors that many of you may be seeing in Rexburg. The corn is Roundup Ready corn, which means that it is resistant to Roundup thanks to GMOs. So when it is sprayed, the corn flourishes and is not affected, and the weeds around it start to die. Without this detrimental step in growing fruitful corn, the corn would end up short with small heads, and it would be a pitiful harvest. So, now that we have the knowledge in place about what a GMO and what pesticides and herbicides are, let's look at the benefits biotechnology gave it. Without worry of disease or pests making the harvest bad for the plants, costs for the crop goes down for the consumer. Genetic engineering allows resistance for specific diseases of the plants without altering the traits of the plant or changing the plants in other ways. It's very precise and specific. The plants are exactly the same in nutrients and safety. In 2016, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine produced a report on genetically engineered food and crops. The academies took into consideration all comments and reports from both sides of the spectrum during this conference, no matter how ridiculous some of them may have seemed. A lot of the claims from the party that opposed gave reports stating that GMO foods caused ailments and diseases such as cancer, obesity, diabetes, kidney disease, autism, and many more. But there were no patterns found between the engineered seeds and the named diseases. Compared to the US, where the GMO foods are abundant, and comparing that with the United Kingdom, where they are virtually unknown, there were no patterns found over time with from the diseases linked to the GMOs. There was no correlation. So, pesticides and herbicides go hand in hand with GMOs. Engineering can make the plant resistant to the chemical, and when the chemical is sprayed on the crop, it only improves its state. Like the example with the corn, it kills all the antagonist plants wanting to take it down, and then the corn takes over and grows, leaving the weeds in the dust. These methods are completely different from that of organic farming, which we will now talk about. Organic farming and pesticide or conventional farming are very different in many regards. All good farmers believe in keeping the soil fertile, healthy, and well maintained. There is no difference in that state of mind when it comes to organic and conventional farming. Good farmers know the need for crop rotation in their ground. Crop rotation is planting a different crop in the field every so many years, or even every other year. Because the plant naturally gives back to the earth just by being planted. And when it is plowed under in the fall, different minerals and vitamins are sent back to the ground in the soil. Depending on the plant, different minerals and vitamins can go into the soil. And it goes the other way around too. Depending on the plant, it can also take and deplete the soil of certain nutrients. So, doing the same thing year to year is not healthy for the ground, just as eating the same thing every day is not healthy for oneself, not good for oneself. So rotation is needed. But even when rotation is occurring, typical farmers or conventional farmers use synthetic fertilizers and pesticides to make the crop reach its highest potential, to get the best and biggest yield. Organic farmers do not use GMO seeds or any synthetic fertilizers or pesticides when growing. By going through with this method, their yields never will be as bountiful as when compared to conventional farming. The seeds and plants haven't been given the boost or the encouragement to reach its highest potential. With that being explained, conventional farming is what feeds the world. Genetic engineering, pesticides, and fertilizer technology have been proven successful, safe, and economical. Without genetic modified foods, there wouldn't be enough food to feed the world that is ever growing still. Remember the facts, and now that you know them, you can be assured that what you are eating is healthy and safe for you and your family. So eat right, and the rest is taken care of.